Hi, I'm Carrie Lawless and we are Designaholics. On this channel, we teach DIY hacks, how to achieve high-end looks on a budget, and how to make the most money when you sell your home through staging. On today's Designaholic DIY, we are going to take this nightstand, which has beautiful lines, but for the finish, it's seen better days. So we are gonna update it. There's a whole new look going on in this bedroom. Stay with us and find out what we're gonna do. Today we are going to transform this nightstand and we're going to show you how we get it done. So this nightstand has beautiful lines, but the finish has seen better days. This was done a while back when more extreme faux finishes were in style, but the homeowner really loves the piece, loves the functionality, wants to keep it in the room. So we are doing a finish on the back wall. We're going to make this a little more subtle and give it that French appeal. There's a lot of contrast going on here. We're going to take that way down. We're going to start with a white, and then we are going to move into this color, which I'm sure you can't see that little dot. It's called linen. And then we're going to go from there. We're going to distress it a little bit in the crevices, make this beautiful detail pop out. I don't know exactly where we're going with this, but we're going to find out together. Let's get started.
So I'm going to get started on these dressers that we're redoing. The first step is I am going to apply solid white to all of this. I am using a chalk paint brush because I feel like being it's textured, it'll help get into this already textured finish on the dressers better than a regular paintbrush. All right, let's get started. And this is not going to be just one color. This is going to be all white, is going to be the base coat, and then we're going to add additional color. After it dries, then we are going to highlight some of the details in this furniture. All right, I'm back. So the white first coat is finished. So now I am going to start on step 2 and I am going to paint linen on top of this. And again, I love this chalk paint brush and the roundness of it because it helps to get in all the little details.
All right, so we painted these. Rondi did 2 coats, came out beautiful, but then turns out it was a little too light. It wasn't rich enough for the richness in this room. This room is amazing, it's fit for royalty, and we need these to be as amazing as the room. So we're gonna darken them a little bit with Waverly Cashew over the existing paint, and then I'm gonna show you how we're gonna highlight all these raised areas, and it's gonna be amazing. We have everything base coated and we sealed everything with the clear wax. And this is the clear wax that we used on this step. It's the Valspar sealing wax. And what that's gonna do is when we put the dark wax, it won't soak into the very porous chalk paint. It just created like a barrier. So right now what I'm gonna do is use these 3 to create the final finish. So we're gonna do the antiquing wax, but we're going to use the sealing wax with it so it's not so dark. And then we're gonna go back over it with a little bit of this Waverly white wax, and that's gonna gray it out and tone down a little bit. So we're getting started with that right now. The things I'm using for this, I have a couple of containers. I have a brush for my dark wax, and then I'm gonna use the same brush. This is just a very inexpensive synthetic brush that I got from Lowe's. This is my clear wax and my white wax. So I can use the same brush for these 2. And then these brushes I'm gonna use probably just to smooth it out a little bit. The other thing I'm using is paper towels, and I fold them into squares because I like how they are the right size when I go to pull. So here we go. Clear wax first. I'm just gonna treat the whole front as one thing so that it all kind of flows together. You want to apply the clear wax kind of thick, and so it doesn't dry up on you, and you want to go quickly. I think that's a good kind of stopping point. So now we're gonna apply the dark. Now, I don't want to put a big glob, so I'm just gonna like tap it off on the side, and then basically when you start a project, it's just an experimentation until you figure out what you really want it to look like. Now, because this piece has some really beautiful lines, I'm going to do my best to get it thicker in these little crevices, because this is what's going to give you that dimension when you step back and look at it. One of the things we decided to do kind of at the last minute was we painted these handles the same as the piece because it was such a soft look that we were going for. And because there was no no detail on the fronts of the drawers, they were very flat, I decided to use this as my detail. Now we're gonna use this paper towel and we're just gonna drag. I wanna make this as light as possible because I'm gonna have to go back into it. And I don't want there to be any distinct lines that I have to blend back into.
Y'all can come in, I'll just cut the audio out of this part.
I need y'all to look at the other nightstand and tell me when this is looking consistent with that one. I should have had it in my line of sight so I could see it. Okay, so now I'm gonna add a little bit of white over it and just gray it out some. It's too red-brown for what I'm looking for. You see how the white just gives the brown that just more of a gray brown? So pretty. I'm smudging all of this out so that I don't have any harsh lines, because they will show up when you put the next step on. Now, this piece has some texture on it that is not ideal. It's something that was done a long time ago. So I'm gonna stipple it because I don't want that texture to show up. That is not part of what we're doing. My choice would have been to sand it all off, but we just didn't, it just wasn't part of the project, part of the budget to do this piece that way. So the way you get rid of it visually is you just stipple it all out so that none of the dark is accentuating those crevices. I have the front of the drawer like I like it. We're definitely gonna go back in and frame out all around this. I'm gonna finish the drawers, but this handle's wet. I'm just gonna barely touch it, and then just what I did to the front, I'm going to do to the top, the two sides, and the bottom, so that when you open this piece, it'll look finished. I know some people are probably thinking right now, why in the world would you spend time on the bottom of the drawer? You don't have to. It's just, I have a perfectionist problem. So it's just what I do. All right, on here, I'm just gonna take a little bit of white and gray this out. And now we're matching with the front. All right, I'm getting a little brave here. I feel more comfortable doing that first drawer, so I'm just gonna try to get as much of this, at least the two drawers done together. Save a little time here. One of the things I probably should have done is put a whole lot less of the clear wax in these edges and crevices. I just wasn't thinking, but if you do that, then the dark wax will hold in better, and it'll keep you from having to go back in and do as much additional work to get them darkened up. For me, it's just going to be a second step because I definitely have too much of the clear wax, which is causing the dark wax not to stick in the crevices. Okay, so I've got the wax on there, the dark wax. Now I'm gonna go with the grain because that's the look that I'm going for. And then when I pull it with the paper towel, I'm gonna go with the grain again. Flip the paper towel over when it becomes too saturated. Okay, so now along these edges, you want this to look finished off. This is one of the marks of a piece that looks professional and doesn't. You've got to get this around here looking right. You don't want to see brush strokes because you didn't take the time to go back in and finish this off. So I'm going to do that by just kind of smudging in all in the direction of the piece. Then I'm going to have to go back in and darken it. But it's important to not have those unprofessional looking smudges and lines. I'm just going to wipe the tops of this, trying to leave as much dark in the crevices as possible. Another tip is you want to have plenty of paper towels folded and ready to go. You want as few things to do as possible when your wax is sitting there drying on you. All right, looks like it's time for some white wax. It's gonna be beautiful. Hey, be sure to comment below and let us know what you're thinking about this. What do you think about this technique and these colors? Do you think it's doable for you? Also, let us know if you've got a project that you've been maybe procrastinating on, something in your garage, you can't wait to see the results. And if you need some ideas or if you'd like to see us do a project similar to what you're considering, let us know. We are so happy to help. So definitely comment below and let us know what you've got going on. Now, when I'm using the white wax, if I've got something that's got some dimension, I'm just gonna try to stay more on the tops. I don't wanna wipe off what's in these crevices. I wanna add to it, but not wipe off. So I'm taking the brush and I'm going sideways. If I dabbed it in, everything would come right out. Instead of adding on top, it would be taking it out. Kind of like that just happened accidentally. I'll show you how to go back into this after this is dry and make it even a little more dramatic. This is all white that I'm adding, white wax. And I don't even remember if I talked about the brand, so just in case I didn't, I find that these two brands mix well. I'm using the Waverly white wax because Valspar doesn't have that at Lowe's. I don't know if they make it, but I couldn't find it. So these are both acrylic water-based products. This is not like some of these other waxes won't mix with these acrylic products. So be super careful what you're mixing together because you really could ruin it if you mix the wrong things. So this is an example of what not to do. I missed all of this when I was wiping and now it's dry. But the way to solve that is you want to just go and reactivate it with clear wax would be the best. That's going to, if you don't wait too long, that'll reactivate it, then you can move it around. If you have to move your color around, you can go in the direction opposite of the grain as long as you pull it back. What was happening is I had some lines that I didn't really love. They were a little too harsh. So I just moved it around like this, then went back in this direction. This is the part that's so exciting. So yes, this is pretty, but see these crevices and creases and all this little detail? Oh my gosh, this is going to be so beautiful. Wait till you see it. So if you're thrifting and looking for furniture pieces, you want to look for things that have lots of detail, because it's really hard to create a beautiful finish without, like, this detail creates it for itself, if that makes sense. Now I am just putting it on minimally and really spreading it thin because I had a little too much in these crevices and didn't get them as dark as I wanted. So I'm going to try not to repeat that mistake. So I'm just spreading it as far as I can go. All right, time for the pretty stuff. That was clear. Now we're going with the brown. See how I'm like digging it into here? You want to get that in there. Kind of heavy. And then this little crevice here, my hope is that it'll stay in there. Okay, now on these pieces, it's important to go from edge to edge. So I'm going to get on the other side, and I'm going to get all the way back here and work edge to edge, because this piece has to look consistent. So if I stop in the middle and have a line there, you're going to see that line. You want to go corner to corner. And then I'm going to get here a little bit more. There we go. Okay. And take the paper towel and I'm going to wipe. The trick to getting it to stay in is keep the paper towel flat. If it follows that line, it's going to dig it right out and undo all your work. Okay, right here needs to be handled just a little bit differently. It's very dark in there, and so it's going to, it's just going to be too drastic. So I'm going to take a dry chip brush, and I'm just going to basically stipple it, move it around so that it's a little more subdued. And that goes for all of this. You see how I'm lightly just kind of glazing over the tops with this brush, and it's creating a more subtle effect. Then, as it's pushing it out onto the top surface, I'm just going to wipe it off. This allows me to keep it in there, yet make it subtle at the same time. See what I'm doing with this? I want it to be more consistent all the way around, so I'm just pushing it with the brush. stippling also. You can do that. Ah, look at that detail. I lost a lot of my detail in here. I hit it too much. We'll have to go back into that later. Now, this time, instead of using this as a dry brush, because this chip brush gets so thin, I just barely dipped it in, and I'm going to kind of outline this crease right here with the tiniest little bit of wax. I'm using the dark wax, and I'm just stippling it into that corner. Oh, love that look. Now, while I realize this is a little bit harsh, we are going to go over it with the white wax. And it'll blend in with the rest of the front. Okay, so I'm gonna add a little white and gray this out. Make sure it's matching closely to those drawers. The other thing I'm doing with this white wax is I'm kind of pushing the brown out on the tops, pushing it around so I can have it be a bit lighter. You can use the top of the side of the brush to do that. And I'm able to do that because that white wax is reactivating the brown. It's got the white on, so it's coming out a little bit more grayed out, which is what we were looking for anyway. So basically we're just gonna continue these steps all the way around, and we'll show you what it looks like when it's done. This is it. These are the final touches. Natalia and I are adding on the dark brown wax, and then as it dries, we go over it with the white wax to gray it out. And so this is it. So we've got the other one completely finished. I am in love with it. What I'm doing is going around with this little brush, and I'm going into these crevices, just little bits of this dark wax. And then I'm just adding it in like this, and then taking it out, just kind of rubbing over the tops. And then when I add the white on it, it's gonna gray it out, and it looks so old and beautiful. And then on the edges of the drawers, as you can see, I'm just adding just taking the edge of my brush. Well, here we go. Taking the edge of the brush and then just adding a little bit of dark around the edges, and it just frames it out and makes it so finished and aged and beautiful. So we're just gonna keep adding. I've got to add into here, and then the end result should be pretty amazing. Almost done. This is it. This is the finished product. I'm so excited about how this came out and what it did for the room. What do y'all think?
I love how soft it looks. The color looks great. Even if we did all these details with dark wax, still looks very soft, and I love the end result. It's great.
Yes. Yay! What about you, Randy? What you think?
I'm thinking my favorite is the hardware. I thought I was really gonna like the original.
Yeah, I did too.
Color against how this came out. But then when you painted these, I don't know, I feel like they pop so much more, bring so much texture to the overall drawer, because you know how you,
it looks romantic.
Yeah.
It does. It looks romantic, and that's how you want a master bedroom to feel, is romantic.
Yes.
That's really a good point. And so, and that's another thing, you know, you don't have to have all the answers when you start on a project. It kind of speaks to you as you go. It sounds ridiculous, but that's really the truth, you know? And if you just kind of get a feel for what's supposed to happen next, you'll just be led to do and try things. If you don't like it, hey, it's paint, right?
Yes.
paint it again. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Carrie Lawless. We are
Designaholics.
Thank you for staying with us. And listen, there's a link below for the beautiful finish that we did behind me on this wall. You need to see the whole room and how we did it all. Thanks so much for staying with us. Click subscribe and ring the bell for notifications. I don't want you to miss out on any of our content, and then you will be part of the Designaholic fam.